we talk so much about the intentionality of being adaptable and how these games never look alike. What'd you make of the way your team just reacted to the circumstances of Shea being in foul trouble tonight?
Not only that, I just thought LA's physicality in the first half, I thought they were the aggressor, especially their offense against our defense. And so we had to kind of endure their punch in the first half. They obviously took a lead. In the third, Shea had 4. And so it's just kind of an unpredictable game, and like I said, after game 1, no 2 games are alike. So we did a great job of just staying present, winning the next battle in front of us, sticking together. We got contributions from everybody. It was great.
Mark, what did you see from AJ specifically in that stretch?
I mean, he was outstanding in the first half. Got his scoring going. Didn't make his threes, but made everything else pretty much in the first half. And great floor game. He gave us great tempo when Shea was getting denied and when Shea was off the floor, and just continued poise and confidence out of him in these big games.
And I have to ask because it felt like the second half sort of dissolved into these teams versus the crew. I don't know. I mean, I won't ask you about the quality of the officiating, but what role did you seem to feel like the officiating played by the end of the game?
I mean, my interactions with the officials are between me and them. I had plenty to say to them, but I'm going to keep it there. And I thought our team did a really good job of staying present and just focusing on the next controllable. And we just played it possession by possession.
Yeah, Mark, just talk about that group right after Shea gets goes to the bench and after the flagrant, just the way they were able to grab control of the game.
Yeah, it's just great confidence by the team and togetherness. We strung together stops, played with great pace off those stops. Guys stepped in and made confident plays up and down. It started with the group when Kaysen went in for him, the starting group plus Kaysen, and then every sub we rolled in there, did the same thing and really built a nice lead. I probably would have gone back to him in the third. I was planning on doing that in my head, but we played so well. I just kept riding it. It got him fresh, allowed him to play the whole fourth. It was a great team win.
I feel like a lot of guys, young guys in Jared McCain's role would be a little timid. He comes out there and there's no fear in anything, not scared to make a mistake. You just talk about his mentality in those type of situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's ironclad, as we've talked about. He goes in there, stays in character, stays aggressive. He's going to shoot the next shot. He makes the right plays. He plays inside the team. He competes defensively. He has set good defensive possessions for us. And he was huge tonight. And you need that in a playoff series. There's a lot of basketball. And you're going to need everybody. We trust everybody. He was big again tonight.
Mark, to build on that sequence there, to have guys that are facing, the Lakers are kind of rolling. They seem like they're maybe trying to, inflict some damage with Shea on the bench. To have guys out there that maybe you don't expect to sort of turn the tide. Where do you sort of think this team gets that from?
Well, other people might not expect it, but I do. I've got the utmost confidence in our whole team. We've shown that during the year. We played much of the year without Dub. When Shea's off the floor and Dub's not playing, we have those stretches. We had the game against Denver in overtime when he was minute capped, him and Hart, and we basically had a bench crew go out there in overtime, win the 5 minutes against a really quality team. So we've tried to train that muscle, and we've got guys that are competitors. They see the challenges of the game as opportunities, and they attack them. So I give the guys a lot of credit. That was great fortitude there.
Seems like one of the things that Hart does so well is he's in the right spots at the right times, whether it's for a rebound, contesting a shot, finding a gap in the defense. And can you kind of just speak to how much of a strength that is for him and just his overall basketball IQ? Yeah,
I mean, he's just a really complete player at that position. There's really nothing he can't do. And I thought, that stretch in the third that everybody's referring to, I thought his defense in that stretch, just his presence out there. And then I thought Kaysen really got it going, defensively especially. He obviously had a good offensive night as well, but on the defensive end, he was amped up during that stretch, and that's really what turned the game for us. As we were stringing together stops, it was putting us out on the break. Those guys did a great job.
Coach, in terms of combinations of playing Chet and Isaiah, obviously those are the final piece of that defensive puzzle, but how important has the rim protection been all year, just being able to spark your transition and just being that final piece of what you guys try to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're not only great rim protectors, they're really versatile defenders that do a lot of things for us. When they're out there together, it's incredibly impactful. I'd throw Jay Will in there. You know, he's about as disciplined, as intelligent, and as physical as there is. I mean, he's taken however many charges already in this series. You know, he's in the middle of everything too, and those three guys, they just bring a great blend of all the things I just said. You know, it's huge for our defense, and they were huge tonight.
Mark, what have you just made of Shea's series so far through 2 games? I know the foul trouble might have affected his rhythm tonight, but how the Lakers are defending him and how he's responding to that.
Well, how he's responding is how he always responds, which is nothing bothers the guy. He's pretty unflappable, and he understands the nature of these series. You know, these series, it's you know, quality opponents that are capable of executing a lot of different things. He's the centerpiece of game plans. You know, they're doubling him about as aggressively as we've seen, and as consistently as we've seen. And he just continues to find a blend of his aggression, getting off it early, and empowering his teammates, and the way that he's played. You know, even in game 1, with the way that he's moving it out of there, that has some effect on their ability to go out there and play the way they did when he was in foul trouble. You know, he deserves some credit for that, with the way that he's empowered the group despite his gravity, you know, as a MVP caliber player. So, you know, that's how I'd grade him out.
And what you see on the play with him and Reeves that led to his 4th foul and was upgraded?
There was a lot of, you know, they were tangled up. And I thought it was a worthwhile challenge to try to go get it and get the first foul on Reeves. I don't know what they saw. I didn't hear the explanation, but that was my thinking on that.
You've talked before about the double teams with Shea, that, you know, if teams are hell-bent about getting the ball out of his hands, there's nothing you can really do. But what can you sort of do after the ball's out of his hands to sort of get him reintegrated in a possession where it's not just he throws out of the double team, the ball keeps moving, and he's sort of isolated on the perimeter?
I think we've done a decent job of that in this series. You know, even last game, I'll look at it tonight, but we've had some plays where, you know, we move it around. We try to explore a great shot. If we don't get one, it gets back to him in space, and the defense is less prepared and organized to go double him again. And even if they do, they may be less organized in the rotation. So it's just about maintaining the advantage if you don't find a great shot. I thought our attacks on the double teams were better tonight than they were in the first game. They were cleaner. I thought in the first half we got great threes out of it that we didn't make. We made more of them in the second half, but I thought the attacks were consistently, you know, where we'd like them to be.
What did you think of Chet's game? Only a couple shots the first half, more aggressive second half. Points, rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was unbelievable tonight. I mean, he's the ultimate winner anyways, but, you know, he was the ultimate winner tonight. Shea goes out in the third. He was a huge part. He played almost the whole third quarter and was a huge part of that run. And then I thought his rebounding, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, his nose was in the fight down there. He went and got the ball. He had some timely ones offensively for us late. Showed off his skill with the shoot. You know, there's nothing he can't do. And when the lights are on, you know, he's at his best.
Yeah, Mark, you mentioned you amped up the defense there in the third quarter. What was going on in the second quarter? First 8-10 minutes, great defense, and then they hit you for 40-something points in 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, they got a nice confidence and flow to them. You know, they were playing with really good force. They got us behind the ball, you know, both in the actions, and then they got the ball ahead of us, which is a strength of their team. And just our resistance to that force wasn't where it needed to be, you know, and we ended up, you know, kind of leaking a little bit there. But it's a playoff series, you know, it's a 48-minute game. There's 100 possessions, you know, and there's multiple games, and you're not going to just win all the minutes, you know, and so your ability to take punches and eat those punches is as important as your ability to throw them. And I thought we did a good job of just not letting the game get away from us, getting ourselves back on track, and playing all 48. But yeah, they got their shots in tonight for sure.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Coach. Yep.